All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be breaking down the conference championship slate, the two-game slate. So with that, guys, let's go in and get into it. So as always, I'd like to start off with a quick game preview, guys. What we're going to notice here is that Denver is going to be 4.5-point dogs in this game. I would say that's mostly just due to Jarrett Stidham having to be the starting quarterback for them in replacement of Bo Nix, who is obviously done for the season. What we are going to notice with this game is it is projected to be a lower scoring game than the other one, which I'll show you guys in just a second. This one is at 42.5 total points. So ultimately, I think we are probably going to try to begin to more players in this second game. Now, the second game is projected to be a close game as well, a 2.5-point spread in favor of the Seahawks. Obviously, the Seahawks are dealing with Sam Darnold being a little bit banged up as well, and so the question is, can we really trust him as a DFS play? He arguably gets the best matchup among the quarterbacks going against the Rams, but he's also banged up. So that is what makes the slate kind of difficult. We look at the game total of this game, though, guys, it is a higher scoring game than the other one, about 47 total points here in this game. So again, we probably are going to be favoring this game, especially more for like 50-50 decisions between, like, if we're stuck between two players. So definitely an interesting slate. Let's go ahead and break down the quarterbacks. So guys, first and foremost, let's just take a peek at the 9-to-5 lineup builder. It is telling us that Drake May is basically the top play here. Okay, projected at 18.8 fantasy points, and he's also going to be the best value. Then Sam Darnold, which if Sam Darnold were healthy, maybe we could be looking at that. Then Stafford, and then Stidham. Stidham's actually the third best value, though. Now, I actually find it a little different. I actually really like the idea. I shouldn't say really like the idea. I think in terms of making a good lineup, I actually think Stidham being the starting quarterback for your DFS builds is the way to go. We have seen him in a somewhat similar situation in the past where it seemed like he was going to just suck in the spot that he was in, and then he ended up having a good start. Yes, it is tough to trust him for sure. Bo Nix has obviously been pretty good. Bo Nix averaging 19.7 DFS points on the season. How much of that has been due to Bo Nix? How much of that has been due to Sean Payton? Honestly, we don't know. I'm not trying to say Bo Nix is a bad quarterback or anything like that. I think, quarterback and head coach or quarterback and offensive coordinator, that is a relationship that goes hand in hand. Like, you can't say Bo Nix is benefiting from Sean Payton or anything like that. That's not the point. The point that I'm trying to say here is that Stidham probably will end up playing about the same as Bo Nix in regards to how the offense flows. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to play as well as Bo Nix, but if the opportunities that were there for Bo Nix are also going to be there for Stidham, then I don't mind Stidham. Now, again, I would say Bo Nix is better. That's why he's starting. Does make some pretty good throws. But ultimately, I think at 4.5 for Jarrett Stidham, I do think the projected points that he's projected to get, again, around 12.3, I do think we'll end up getting that. And I do think playing him will then allow us to pay up for the other studs that are on the slate, which to me are going to be the bigger difference makers. That being said, guys, if Sam Darnold is actually healthy and he's able to throw the football a bunch, obviously he's going to end up having a good game. Luckily for them, Rashid Shaheed, he started the game out extremely well for them. I actually do wonder if that game would have been at all different had that return not happened. It would have been very interesting. We didn't really get a look at Darnold per se in that game. Now, obviously, he ended up playing extremely well, especially given the situation where they're saying he wasn't practicing and not able to move all that well. He still ended up playing well. I do think we should be getting to him. I don't mind that. And then we do have Stafford, guys. It should be better weather for him. Watching that game, he didn't necessarily play well. Caleb Williams didn't necessarily play well. But that wasn't really on either of them. That was more just due to drops, which I think was just more due to cold weather. And so assuming the weather doesn't get significantly worse for this game, and assuming Vegas is correct about how high scoring this game is going to be, I do expect Stafford to have a good game. And obviously, Stafford's going to be easier to stack, I would say, in regards to pay-ups with Puka, with Adams, and even with Kobe Parkinson. And so that's kind of the downside of not being on Stafford, is I think you would want to get to Puka, you'd want to get to Adams, and you'd want to get to Parkinson the most in regards to the pass catchers. And then Drake May, obviously playing extremely well, guys. Does get a tough matchup here against Denver, but he's been playing extremely well. I would agree that he's probably should be the highest projection. So that, it is a tough slate for quarterbacks, but that's kind of why I don't mind the idea of punting. And then we could go to the running back position. I do think the running back position becomes much easier. Okay, for the Seahawks, I do want to call it that obviously Zach Charbonnet is out, but also their backup running backs are also out. Okay, so George Holani could end up being active in this game, guys. Okay, so he ended up practicing on Wednesday. So it'll be pretty interesting to see if he ends up being active. He is someone that is basically Zach Charbonnet. So if he ends up being active and he's actually fully good to go, again, he's been in the IR, how healthy is he? that'll be interesting to see if he gets more work, because I could easily see that happening. But as it currently sits right now, assuming he's not going to get too much work, I just think we have to pay up for Kenneth Walker. That's just the easy click, because with Zach Charbonnet being out, with Kenny McIntosh definitely being out, he's just the easy play. After Charbonnet went out, guys, we did see Kenneth Walker play 76% of the snaps and end up getting all of the 15 opportunities after that point. We saw Velus Jones with the backups get some work, but overall, it was just Kenneth Walker. So he's kind of the easy pay up. And then from there, guys, it does get a little bit more difficult. I'm kind of fine just riding the hot hand with Kyren Williams, who has been getting more work this postseason, especially last game, where Blake Corum still played his normal snaps, guys, but Kyren Williams had 64% of the snaps, 21 carries, and then 5 targets, whereas Blake Corum only had 6 carries, so that's kind of strange. And so I think we just kind of trust Kyren Williams. He's going to have one of the better chances of scoring a touchdown on this slate as well, and so I'm kind of just fine rolling with him. Now, obviously, you still have Stevenson there that's going to play a decent amount of snaps. He had his most carries last week, which I found kind of interesting. 16 carries there. Look good, continues to look good. Harvey, it'd be interesting to see if he gets more work. The appeal of Harvey has been his passing game usage. 3 out of the last 4 games, very much involved there. And so that'd be the appeal there. And I actually think we could get away with playing 3 running backs on the slate. And in a weird way, I do think that could be a unique stack, is actually going Stidham and also Harvey. Stidham is someone that should have some design runs for him, guys. But again, if we're playing Harvey, we're kind of playing Harvey due to his passing game usage, and maybe we get a lucky touchdown. That would be huge. And actually, I don't think that's a bad way to get unique on the slate. And then from there, guys, let's go ahead and get into the receivers. I think, simply put, we are trying to play up for Puka and we're trying to pay up for Jason. Okay, again, that's going to be the appeal of playing Stidham at the quarterback position. Okay, it's not like we necessarily love Stidham, but I do think playing him does make a bunch of sense. Now, the issue that I have with Stidham as a quarterback, although he is going to be someone that, again, I think is going to rush the football, it does kind of feel like we need to get to one of his receivers. And so Courtland Sutton, really did not have anything going in the game last week until very late in the game, and then ended up 9 targets, 4 receptions, 53 receiving yards. Ended up having a fine game. Ideally, we would pay up for him. If we're playing Stidham at the quarterback position, we would ideally be able to pay up for Sutton. I don't know if we're necessarily going to be able to do that. And then on top of that, guys, we are seeing Troy Franklin currently listed as questionable. He's probably going to be good to go. But then you also have Pat Bryant, who's also currently listed as questionable as well. If one of those two end up sitting, then we'd probably be looking at Humphrey to get some more work, guys. He ended up getting 66% of the snaps, 72% of the routes. Okay, so he'd be the player that I think we would just count on to benefit the most snap share-wise. Like Troy Franklin, guys, he only played 18% of the snaps total, 17% route share. Mims, maybe a little bit more of a big play, kind of upside. That's really all you're ever chasing with Mims, is kind of that big play upside. Now, obviously that happened last week, but it's a little bit random, with him. He does have those spike weeks. I don't mind the idea of getting to him a little bit, especially if you're playing Stidham, but I think ultimately we're kind of, in a weird way, we're hoping for Pat Bryant to sit so we can play Humphrey at 3.4, and then that ends up being a decent way to get some value on this slate. Now, there are some other receivers that I do think we could be looking at this slate as well. I mean, with New England, it always is kind of a guessing game as to which one's going to have the good game. It was Booty with a very awesome catch last weekend. He scored a touchdown now in 3 straight games. And so, I mean, I don't mind the idea of chasing that. He is their number one. I said in quotes because Diggs is the number one. He's just not going to play all that many snaps. Booty is still on the field a bunch. Douglas obviously ended up scoring a touchdown. It is a guessing game. So you want to mix and match in their receivers. Just it's tough to tell you guys definitively which one to be on. For the Rams and Seahawks, guys, I don't mind the idea of playing Cooper Kupp. I feel like he is a little bit too cheap. I think he's just fine. Like if you need salary relief, he's fine, especially if you're not playing Humphrey. I don't need to get to Shaheed. And then for the Rams, they have been kind of spreading out the wealth receiver-wise. Obviously, I still really like Davante Adams. Did not really get going in that game until late in the game. You would expect him to have a much better game. I will say, if you are not playing Davante Adams, then that does lead me into who I think is the best tight end play on the slate, considering where he is priced at, and that's going to be Colby Parkinson. So guys, Colby Parkinson played in 68% of the snaps and had a 41% route share. The route share is definitely worth calling out, guys, because Terrence Ferguson ended up playing in 39% of the snaps. So definitely, or of the routes. But if we can assume that Parkinson is still going to kind of keep his tight end number one role with Tyler Higbee being back, which was a question that I had, then he ends up being very appealing. So 7 targets in 3 out of the last 4 games, which we like. He obviously had that late touchdown against the Panthers, almost had a late touchdown against the Bears as well. The target was there. And so he'll be the tight end that I'm trying to play the most. That being said, I mean, obviously stacking a tight end with your quarterback is not a bad idea. Obviously, it'd be Barner if you're going Darnold. For Denver, you don't necessarily need to get to Evan Ingram. But I will say, if like Pat Bryant is out and if Troy Franklin's out, then Evan Ingram becomes much, much more appealing. Even if he's playing 56% of the routes, he does tend to get a decent snap share. And then obviously Hunter Henry kind of touchdown dependent. And that's where I'm kind of being led to Kobe Parkinson. So we have about 3.2 left over here to close out this build. I really don't care which defense I get to. I don't. Obviously it's very much who you're playing at quarterback or running back. Then you don't want to play that defense, the opposing defense, I should say. And so for this specific build, I mean, it might just be Denver just because I'm not getting to any Patriots. I don't necessarily love that, although Denver's defense is great. We know that. So it is a little bit of a toss up there. And so let's go ahead and give you guys a first look build. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the tight end out of the flex position. Then we are going to force a stack with the pass catcher. And we're just going to run some builds here just to see what the top builds are currently. And so right now, guys, the top build that you can make is going to be Drake May, Kenneth Walker, Stevenson, interesting, Puka, Booty, Humphrey, Evan Ingram, and JSN. Again, I kind of think playing JSN and also Puka are kind of necessities. And as it currently sits right now, I think Kenneth Walker is also a necessity as well. And I'm fine. I think this is a good example of how we can kind of mix and match the slate. I do think going with a receiver, and especially a Broncos receiver in the flex, given how low priced they are, is going to be the way to go. So I actually like how the lineups are being presented to us. Booty, if he keeps up his touchdowns, is a little bit too cheap as well. So I think this is a very good example of actually how to go about attacking the slate, especially from 150 lineup type of approach as well, or even 20 entry type of approach as well. Whereas my single entry lineup, this is unique enough where I think it correlates enough as well and also holds a decent amount of upside as well. Maybe a little bit too unique by having Sutton and Humphrey in there with Stidham. Could end up being wrong there. I understand that. But guys, that is going to do it for the video. Appreciate you guys being here. Make sure to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well, guys. Please subscribe. I am trying to get to 500 subscribers before the Super Bowl. So if you guys can make that happen, I would love that. Appreciate you guys. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.